this video we'll use the colors of a stoplight to illustrate the switch and case structure for making decisions within C#. So we'll begin by creating a new project. And I'll call this one traffic light. And in this program I'll just add a simple button, a label, and a text box. And I'll go ahead and call my text box TXT. And we'll call it color. The button, I'll just go ahead and call that one CMD OK. And change the text value to OK. And then for my label, we'll go ahead and we'll just type in color. And we'll call this one LBL. Alright, I'll change this up here just a little bit. BL. Okay, so now let's go ahead and begin by writing some code. So I'll double click on the OK button. And I'll begin by creating or pulling the value from the text box into a string. So I'm going to go ahead and create a string. I'll call it str color. And I'll say it's equal to the text box txt color dot text. Alright, so now that I've got this value here to work with, we're going to go ahead and compare it using a switch and case. And so how this is going to work is I'm going to type in switch. And this is going to give us the option to use or for a comparison rather than having to use an if statement. So we'll go ahead after switch, what we'll do is in parentheses we'll type in the variable that we want to compare. And so I'm going to use str color as my variable. And I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And I always like to begin with the opening curly brace, and I'll hit enter, and we'll go ahead and end with the ending curly brace, and then just space them down a little bit so that we've got some room to work with. And we'll begin with our first case, and so I'll type in the word case. Now what we're going to do is we're going to compare this str color, and if it happens to be red, I'll type in red. What we're going to do is write code here for this. I got to put red in parentheses. There we go, or in quotes. We're going to see if it is red. What we're going to do is we're going to say basically you need to stop, like for a traffic light. And so I'll end this with a colon at the end of this case, and I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and we're going to write our code. So we're going to say LBL output dot text is going to equal stop. I'll go ahead and end that with a semicolon. Now to end my case, what I need to do is use a keyword called break. So I'll type in break. And the break is going to end with a semicolon. So that's our first case. And what we need to do now is we'll start our next case. So I'll type in case. Move this over. Case. And if it happens to be yellow, go ahead and end that with a colon. We'll say LBL output is going to equal caution. And we'll end that with a break. And our last one is going to be case, and this is going to be if it's green. LBL output dot text is going to equal go. And we'll end that with a break. Alright, so that's our case so far that we've got set up. Meaning if str color happens to be red, it'll run this code here where it says stop. If it happens to be yellow, it's going to run the code here that's going to say caution. And if it happens to be green, it's going to run the code here that's going to be go. So this is a different structure set up for us. Now, there is a default catch-all for if it's anything other than the three that match here. And usually save that for the end. So we're going to go ahead and type that one, and that's just going to be default. I'll put the colon there, and I'll go ahead and say LBL output that text is going to equal this is not a color for a traffic light. I'll end that with a semicolon, and we'll end that with a break. And I'll delete a couple lines here. There we go. So now I've got my beginning curly brace, ending curly brace here. Here's our case structure for us. And so now if I run my application or debug my application, and I type in a color here of red, you'll see that the color becomes stop. If I type in yellow, it's going to say caution, and if I type in green, it says go. Now if I type in something other than that, let's say blue, it's going to go back to my default, and this is not a traffic light color, or this is not a color for a traffic light. So this is the switch and case within C# using it to make decisions.